Great. Just keep three things in mind you want to focus on with me today. So in the meantime, while I'm fixing an issue here, I want you to write down three things. When I ask you, just tell me what they are. So three things that you have in mind that we just need to focus on more.
Right?
You good? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm chilling. I don't know why.
You
I'm
feel
just,
chill?
yeah. I think because I was in a freezing room, I don't know.
Mm. Okay. 1 second. I'm almost there. Did you write the things that I told you to write?
You didn't tell me anything.
No, I mean the three things that you want to focus on.
Ah, for me, from my side.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Just any three things you want to focus on for our meeting today. Just once we finish the meeting, that at least we have covered one of them. Is that clear? Perfect. Nothing in mind?
no, I wrote them down in a
Okay,
note.
what are they?
The first thing is the vocabulary, because
Okay.
it was too hard to me just to go to do the last test you sent.
Mm-hmm.
Its vocabulary was different than the test I've done before.
You mean the reading one?
Yeah,
Okay. So number one is vocabulary. Number two.
is the writing skills. I'm still not feeling confident with writing.
Okay. And third?
The third thing for me is the end of each test, the last 10 questions.
Mm.
Usually, I don't feel comfortable when I do them.
Well, just for your information, the last 10 questions of every IELTS test, especially the listening and reading, are the hardest when it comes to
Yeah.
the difficulty, and they are intentionally made that way for the purpose of determining which student has a better potential language skills than other ones. Okay. And for the writing skills, I have this manual. Probably I'll send you a copy of the PDF. Uh, I just want you to go through it. It's not demanded to read it because it's bulky. It's called Keys for Writers by Anne Rames. It's really beautiful. It's colorful. It has so many comments about how you can improve your writing in general. not specifically related to IELTS. And for vocabulary, I'll go through some of the challenging ones because I don't know if you know this or not. For IELTS, they have a set of dependable vocabulary that they bring from that kind of pool of vocabulary. So let's play by something we call divide and conquer, اللي هو فرق تسد. So we just need to first of all address each one of these challenges one by one, so we can get to a consensus or agreement on what we can do first. Let's start with writing skills. First of all, I need to go through an example here that I've been working on for you. Just want to pull that out here. This is for IELTS task 1. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is for IELTS task 1. I'll send you something very similar to this one. And I want you to write your answer about, because this is the one we have some investment on. It's relatively short. It takes only 20 minutes to finish. And it's not that quite challenging because you are not supposed to give your opinion, but to give your observation. It should be as observational as possible, not as opinionated as possible. So you do not say, well, I didn't like my score on this day, particularly because I was not feeling good, or because I didn't have coffee or something like that. So this is, according to IELTS test, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Please have a look at this chart. It shows your score progress over the past months in listening and reading tests. Describe this in details. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Ahmed Karam IELTS attempts chart and score. So the score goes over a span of, let's say, April, August, forget about this, it's my mistake, February, January, July, June, March, May, October, and September. So it's half of last year and half of this year. Well, it's a mix. And there is a score of 9. Well, it's almost 9. It's 8.5, except for the date, which is a mistake by me because I designed this one. You have April, you got 7. August, you got 7. February, you got 6. January, you got 5.5, as you see here. So
Yeah.
you know how to read this, right? Okay, so we have July, you got 8.5. June, you got 8. March, you got 6.5. May, you got 7.5. October, you got 8.5. And September, you got...
It's 7.5.
7.5. Now, first of all, the biggest mistake people commit when it comes to writing the task number 1 and task number 2 is this. They start writing directly, and that is a big mistake. The first thing that we have to do is to create a framework for writing. So probably the biggest mistake that we have to do, or we do not have to do, is to not design a framework to respond to this question. Now, if we, let me close this one and show you another example here from the website. This is the test that was, this test was administered on January 2021, okay?
Yeah.
So on January 21, writing task 1, test 1, they want you to write 150 words, which is the standard, but there's an interesting thing that you have to bear in mind here. Now, you have to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. So you're not going to write all the details of the chart. You're just going to focus on the main features and make comparisons. So selecting the main features, making comparisons when necessary, and relevant, and reporting. So what we need to do is, for example, have a look at this chart.
Yeah.
This is a chart of people who
Students, local students.
students, enrolled students in Australia, and they're those people who commencing, means they're starting their classes between 2001 and 2010, and the overseas students who are coming to study in Australia, and those local students, Australian ones. And there's also the total number, and the commencing ones. So the total number ranges from 20,000 of the overseas in 2001, and 400,000 in 2001 of the local students. We're going to just focus here on summarizing the information by selecting and reporting the main features. So probably this difference here and here is one of the key features we should dedicate a paragraph about. So we just write paragraph 1, probably focusing on this feature. What else do you notice?
The rise of the commercing people.
Okay.
And overseas students and local students.
Okay, so that's paragraph number 2.
Climbing.
Say it again.
It's climbing.
Okay, so it's plummeting or climbing. It's rising up.
Rising.
Rising, not raising. Rising.
Rising, yeah. For the total students, it's flat around 2008.
Okay, so
while it keep rising up.
Rising, not raising.
For the overseas students.
Okay, so if I want to ask you to describe this, we just need to design a framework or design a map for what we should write here specifically, because if we just randomly start writing, that's not going to make sense. That's not going to be acceptable. That's not going to be logical. So we will just violate the task completion, cohesion and coherence, lexical diversity of vocabulary, and grammar range and accuracy. So we just need to focus on these 4 elements when we are writing this sort of chart here specifically. Now let's have a warm-up exercise here by going through what you have is 20 minutes. So the point of challenge here is not that you do not have writing skills. You do have writing skills, but the time limitation or time constraint is really tight. Okay, so because it's tightened up on your neck to finish in 20 minutes, because that is how they will determine the effective and professional writers who write 150 words, which is 15 sentences.
Yeah.
15 sentences to 20 sentences. And the not good writers who will struggle and have some sort of difficulty expressing their thoughts consequentially. So when I normally write, I take a piece of paper just like this. I know it's a little bit bright, and I brainstorm the main thoughts here. Paragraph 1 is going to be about the difference between overseas students and local students. Paragraph number 2 is going to be about something that is related. Do you still see the chart, or it's gone?
No, it's available here.
Okay, so give me 1 second. I just want to pull out some other link here so we can work collaboratively on. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay. So we just need
So
a writing playground here so we can do the exercise. And I prefer just to do Google. Oh, give me a second here.
I'll just get a cup of coffee because I feel sleepy.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
Bring me one.
Sure. I'm back.
Awesome. I sent you a link here to Skype. You can just check it out. It's the old document that we've been working on some time ago.
Yeah, I remember that it was on Google. Yes. Okay.
Open it.
Yes. It's open.
Okay.
Just 1 second. I need to copy this link to the Chrome one. Yeah. I'm ready.
Do you see the chart?
Yes.
Is it open?
Yes.
Now, what do you see on my page right now? What do you see that I'm reflecting here?
I don't see your page. I think I have to minimize this one. Yeah, it's a timer.
How many minutes?
20.
No. We have already talked about it, and the kind of chat that we had regarding what you're going to write on first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, on fourth and fifth, depending on the number of paragraphs that you prefer. But each paragraph should have an idea, one consistent idea, preferably a beginning of discussion of what this chart talks about. So I get a perspective of what that is going on. And we assume that designing the framework or the map of what you're going to write is going to take you 2 to 3 minutes and around 17 or 16 minutes to start writing. There's good news also that this whole IELTS test can be taken on a computer. So if you type faster, there is higher chance that you're going to respond faster than your handwriting, you know?
Yes.
So you have a timer now, and I am seeing what you're writing. You have around, let's say, 17 minutes. I don't know, 17 minutes to start writing. Now, I want you just to start writing here where it says, please start writing here, the response. And once you finish, I will give you feedback on what you wrote. I'm not going to interrupt you. I'll just watch and take notes.
Okay.
Go ahead. By the way, this is just a simulation of the real test.
Thank you. The first thing is to paraphrase the subject of the question itself. So I'm just thinking about.
I would love if you just think out loud and tell yourself what you're working on. I am always listening to you here, but I'm afraid that I cannot interrupt you because that is going to be on the expense of time. You have 20 minutes. So you just need to work under time constraints here.
Oh, no, 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 no. I have a mistake here.
Ten. You have 13 minutes, which is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Ten minutes.
Okay.
You have 8 minutes, but remember that the last 5 minutes is going to be dedicated to
Review.
proofreading, editing, and just checking if there is any spelling typos, infelicities, or any sort of issues with when it comes to grammar. Also, the consistency and the transitions between paragraphs should be borne in mind.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, you're not done until you get the 8.5 score. um,
No,
so,
I mean, I meant I'm done from this.
okay, so a 10-year period chart showing differences between overseas and local students enrollment in Australia University. Here, probably a 10-year period chart showing the differences between. What is the time of this sentence, Ahmed?
Sorry.
What is the tense or time of this sentence, the first one?
It's a description for the chart.
Okay, so it's a description in what time, past, present, or future?
It's present. The chart is now.
Where is the indication that this is present?
It's the showing.
Showing is not tense. It's an aspect. That means it's continuous. It's not past. It's just something continuous. We don't know if it's in the past or present or future. There's an auxiliary here or a verb in the past or present or future. So not showing, but what we have to do here is either shows or is showing or showed, but not showing particularly, because showing by itself is not satisfactory here. Plus, I will just mark you down, have a point for grammar. So 0.5, assuming that you get 9, because we assume that you get 9 until you prove otherwise. So have a point here for grammar. So either shows, is showing, or showed. As an evaluator, if I am evaluating you, I would say that grammar range and accuracy are not that quite efficient, starting from the first sentence. And the first sentence is the one that you have most of your investment, or should have most of your investment on. Why? Because we are human beings. We get the first impression, and usually the first impression is the one that lasts longest. So leave good impression on the first paragraph. There's higher potential that you get higher score. Differences between overseas and local students enrollment in Australian universities. Okay, sounds good. When you mention differences here,
yes.
Do you see my highlight or not?
Yes, yes.
When you mention differences here,
your screen, so I'm looking at your video call, not your,
okay,
not my.
Okay, so when you mention differences here, you should, since differences in plural, so you just need to have at least 2 major differences. Okay, so at least there should be at least 2 major differences here that you mention here. Also, it says summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. So looking at the main features here, okay, should be kept in mind between overseas and local students enrollment in
Overseas
Australia.
may be replaced by foreign and local students.
You can interchangeably use overseas for sake of sticking with the coding system of the article or the question, or you can paraphrase that to show that you have good paraphrasing skills by saying foreign students enrollment in Australia. Firstly, the number of local students is around 20 times double that of, because double what? Double that of the overseas students, which indicates that the Australian university is almost totally dependent. Here we have an issue with time. It's a minor issue, but it's another markdown of 0.5 for grammar. Here,
So it's in the past, I have to where? Australian universities were almost totally dependent on.
no, depending on what tense you're using, because the chart indicates a period between 2001
Yeah,
and 2010. So here you should be using present perfect, probably have been. So also depending on the kind of tense you use in the beginning, whether you stick with past or you stick with present, which one do you prefer?
present.
Present. So here, this is the one you should stick to in case you want to continue your method of focusing only on what is present, because you're providing descriptive narrative of what's going on in the universities. Firstly, the number of local students is around 20 times double that of the overseas students. You have to make it shorter, so we just need to stop here. This this difference in size indicates now. So avoid using longer sentences, Ahmed, because that is really forbidden. Don't use long sentences. I think I mentioned that to you here. So this difference in size indicates that the Australian universities is or
Where?
are, or if you say where, you have to change the shows to showed. Okay. And since we are talking about a fixed factual graph, we just need to stick with consistent time, just for sake of not slipping any grammar errors here and there. So that the Australian universities are almost totally dependent on the local students in 2001. And by the number of foreign students was climbing reached, this doesn't make sense to me. This is just listen, this is just trash. I just want you to recycle this. I want you to say something different, more acceptable here. Come back here and write something more acceptable here.
Now?
Yes, I want you to replace this with something different, because this doesn't have any informative value here.
Okay, so here. I have to think about something.
I would say avoid using the word climbing. It's I'm not sure if it is correct to use it here.
Is it?
Rising, probably.
Rising? Okay.
Yeah, or has been rising, because you just need to indicate that you know how to use present perfect. So has been rising.
let me correct this. Rising, putting the top of 80,000 skills. I'm done.
Okay. Now, well, it needs more revision here. However, let's just stick with the plan here. I have other topics to talk with you about. When you say on the other hand, you just need to write on the one hand. So you have to say somewhere here on one hand, and then you say on the other hand. You cannot just say on the other hand without saying on one hand, and you cannot say on one hand without mentioning on the other hand. So they walk hand in hand. Okay, so the number of foreigners was climbing during 10 years, during the 10-year period. While the local students count, what do you mean count? You mean number?
Yeah.
Oh, so you just have to say number, not count. Count is a verb. Remained constant between 2007 and 2010. Wait, what? You mean
Look.
not,
Yeah.
You have to say constant. You use the word constant, but consistent is much better, probably, or stable, or fluctuating, يعني متذبذب.
No, fluctuating for the total students. I think it's.
Well, we don't have linear straight line here. They're fluctuating, going up and down.
The total students, not the.
Okay, so you can use any one of them depending on the context. I'm just saying that this issue it should not be constant. It should not be constant. Constant, it means that it's very straight line. The number of commencing foreign students kept climbing. So again, the word climbing should be replaced, while the local commencing students was relatively constant. The conclusion, in conclusion, the number of foreign students was growing up in Australia between 2001 and 2010, which will result in higher income for universities. Why would you say higher income for universities? They haven't mentioned anything about that.
Oh, okay.
And more foreign cultures. What? Just delete all of this. What would say? All of this is
Unacceptable.
Irrelevant. It has nothing to do with it. Imagine that the best way I would describe it, and I will put it, is when we're doing a telephone call with one of you, having a telephone call with one of your friends, and they ask you to describe a chart to them. So you need to write every piece of details that just describes what's in this chart without them having to look at. So starting, I think the best way is, first of all, to start describing, because it asks you here to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. What you can do, paragraph number 1, select the main features of overseas students. Well, first of all, paragraph number 1, introduction. Then main features of overseas students, main features of the chart or the graph of the local students, paragraph number 3 or 4, and then make comparisons, making comparisons when relevant in the last paragraph. So ultimately 4 to 5 paragraphs maximum. 5, 4 to 5 paragraphs. Paragraph number 1, intro. Paragraph number 2, 3, and 4, comparison. Well, summarizing chart number 1, summarizing chart number 2, and then the last graph just indicates the comparisons between those two. I think that is better than just jumping over back and forth. And this is what I meant by framework design. So you just need to draw intro and then graph 1 and then graph 2 and then comparison. Okay, so I'm just writing that down here. And since it's bright, you're not going to be able to see it, but framework, map. You just need to write a map before you start writing. So far, so good. Stop sharing here. Give me 1 second. I need to pull out another document. Okay, going back here, we have a list of things that I will give you to check out later. It's going to be very important.
Hello, you have a list of what?
Do you see the PDF that I'm sharing?
Yeah, but just wait for 1 second. Now it's stable now for the internet, so it's okay. I can see the PDF.
Okay, now it's task achievement and task response number 1. This is going to be academic writing where we're going to talk about charts, graphs, and tables. I think this is unnecessary information in the beginning because we still have 156 pages to go through. So you have 60 minutes related. You see, for the first task, you have 5 minutes of what? Planning, and then 12 minutes to write and 3 minutes to revise. It's pretty much like what I talked about here, although the kind of timing is relatively different. I would say 4 minutes of planning, 13 minutes of writing, and 3 minutes of revising. I think that's ample time for you to go through. When you said that will bring profit to the universities, this kind of like goes with this kind of tip here. Use only the information provided in the task. So do not include outside information or your own opinion. Like saying, I hate the foreign students, or I hate the local students, or something like that. And ask yourself questions to focus on the task. What is this graph about? And which are the most important details? Again, details, details, and details. You just need to focus more on details. They are the bread and butter of the chart. And imagine, I would say, I'm drawing the analogy here of one of your friends calling you, he's lost in a forest, and you have this chart to guide him through the exit out of the forest. And the only way to guide him is to help him visualize without him watching what you're describing. So you just need to provide as much data as possible regarding the chart. And that was just one of the examples here. This is part of a book called Barron's Writing. And I chose it because it's succinct, has so much so many training activities here we'll go through in the upcoming meetings prior to you taking the test. And we'll go on some of the pages. I'm uploading this PDF in Skype. It's going to take some time because it's going to be 42 megabytes. So you just need to address all parts of the task, accurately summarize the information, make meaningful comparisons when necessary. And with a brief overview of the information, use correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Writing complete sentences. So there should be tenses there. And use your own words. Do not copy exact sentences from the task. This is probably what I talked about when it comes to paraphrasing. Yes. Now, what I am doing right now is I'm going through some of the pages. I will leave this document for you to check out. And in our next meeting, I will ask you probably to read as much as possible of it and then we will go through each one of the papers of the document and check whenever necessary what you need to work on more. Since you mentioned that you have an issue with vocabulary, writing, and the last 10 questions. We are not going to cover last 10 questions in this session or the upcoming session, but we'll just focus on vocabulary and grammar skills, writing skills. So here it says, spend about 5 minutes or on planning you start writing. Plan will make sure that you include all the necessary information in task 1, and by task 1 we mean the graphs. You will see a graph. This graph may be a chart. This is bullshit. We don't need it. We know about it, so don't worry about it. Look at the following tasks and graph, write the letter of each graph or set of graphics next to. For example, the bar chart below shows the number of tourists visiting 2 different cities by season. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main feature. High samples in ETG. The pie chart below shows the information of transportation to work normally used by workers. The line graph below shows the number of single-family homes constructed in the United States by region. The table below shows the number of hours per week people of different ages spend using the internet for different types of activities. So they bring you all يعني يجيبوا لك أشكال أنواع الجرافs هنا اعتمادا على الاختبار اللي دا يجي. فهنا new residential construction يعني هو تمرين بسيط، يعني مجرد تسوي ماتش رقم 3 ياهو رقم 4، بس احنا ما راح نسوي هنا على افتراض انه احنا نعرف شنو اللي دا يدور بهاي الحاله. فهنا عندك residential constructions لحد مليون اللي هو single family home، وعندك بين 2006 and 2012. الثاني number of tourists per season، هنا عندك دوفر وتروي spring, summer, fall and winter.
Which means what does Dover and Troy mean?
يعني مدينتين بأمريكا.
اوكي.
عندك هنا Clydesdale University enrollment men ايش قد موجودين بالسوشيال ساينسز engineering education وهيومانيتيز، ونفس المجموعة بالنسبة للومن، واكو اختلاف يعني مثلا هسه المان هواية رايحين engineering بينما women ايش قد 20. فهذا مثلا كلش يعني ممكن يكون.
Give you a plan about this one exactly especially. So
sure.
I'll give you a plan about this chart. So I have to write down about men's specialties for the first, leave the introduction. For the first paragraph will be about men enrollment in different branches. Okay, then I start writing about women enrollment in different branches. Then I have to compare between enrollment of men and women for engineering or education or humanities or whatever. Then I write the conclusion. Is that okay? A plan for a plan?
It's a great plan. I just need to add one point. First, plan the plan. So you just need to write it on a worksheet or a piece of paper, just the headlines, and then start by briefly telling what the chart is. So, for example, the chart shows the variation or the difference at Clydesdale University enrollment between genders of men and women. And then that's it. Go to the next paragraph and then start with the major features of men in the graph. And then the next one on women. And then last one is on comparison and conclusion. Okay, for Clydesdale, it's C, so it's gonna be here. If we go back, it's the pie chart below shows the enrollment in different fields of study at a particular university. So summarize the information, selecting and reporting the main features and blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is the hours per week spent on the internet by age. Study, working, and leisure activities. Teens هنا اللي دا يشتغلون 15 دا يدرسون عليه 20
20 hours for leisure.
Okay. 30s أعمارهم 40s 50s and 60s plus. هذه شلون راح تسوي البلان مالتها quickly؟
هذا البلان مالته راح first it will be between بلانها هذه
اولا introduction، يعني دائما يكون introduction، يعني على الاقل حتى واحد ياخذ فكره.
For sure. I'll leave the introduction and conclusion. Let's talk about the core of the writing paragraph. So it will be between the ages.
هنا عندنا ممكن تستخدم كلمة variation. So the graph shows the variation of use of internet between teens and adults.
Over 60s.
Okay, so and then you just draw big comparisons here. Like here we have 50 by 18, 45 by 17. هذول كلش يعني مهمات. 17 by 18 هذه كلش متقاربة. قد أيضا تكون مو كلش يعني مهمة. هسه نجي Rockingham Transportation 2005 and 2015. ايش قد اللي يحبون يصعدون سيارات بين الفرقين؟ يعني هنا
So I'll talk about 2005 for car alone, work at home, walk, bicycle, bus or carpool. This I'll talk about this one. Then I start writing about the 2015. Then I compare between, let's say, about the car alone for 2005 and 2015. They're 35%, while here is 50%. So I can compare between the two graphs.
Awesome. So determine the topic. So in task 1, you'll be asked to summarize information on the graph by selecting and reporting on the main features. The main features will help you determine the details, blah, 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 to identify. فهذا كله حقيقة bullshit يعني احنا مارين بيه. فهنا detail, task, type of the graph, title of the graph, features, who, what, when, and where. Okay? هسه نجي هو دي يعني دا يمشي وياك step by step، بس احنا بعض من هالخطوات احنا عابريهم. Look at the example here. The graph below shows the average daily sales of selected food items at the Vista Cafe by season. هنا عندك الهوت كافي، الوينتر معلق، وبالسمر قليلة. هذا كلش مهمة ممكن تعلق عليه. هنا عندك مثلا السوب بالشتاء معلق وبالصيف قليل. عندك الايس كريم بالصيف معلق، والايس كافي بالصيف معلق وبالشتاء قليل. فذولي ممكن تعرج عليهم. فتقول شو راح تقول؟
راح اتفق انه الديفرنسز راح تكون between الوينتر and summer هذه as a main.
طبعا.
Then I talk about details for the hot coffee about 75, while بالسمر راح تكون هي around 30 فراح تكون اكثر. والايست كوفي راح تقل جدا بالشتاء around 0، while بالسمر راح تكون جدا high about 40. بالايس كريم almost نفس القريبه يعني، فراح احكي على هالفرق هذا لان هذا حسيته مهم للايس كريم.
ممكن يعني هذه اكو نقطه ثانيه انه من انت يعني تسترسل بهيك كلام verbal، ممكن انت تحكي لنفسك، لا تفكر فقط ببالك، يعني لازم تحكي، يعني لازم وانت يعني مثلا okay so in this chart I will write about blah 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 بينك وبين نفسك بس. لا تخليه silent، لازم تحكي حتى دماغك يصير شلون؟
I can't talk in the IELTS test.
With yourself, of course. Of course, you can talk like whispering with yourself, of course. But you just need to verbalize something. You just need to verbalize that as if you're talking with someone, but by yourself. حتى شنو إذا بقى، لأنه من راح تحكيها راح يصير analysis بها قوي. هسه هنا the bar chart, title, average daily sales average daily sales, what, when, winter and summer. والtopic the average number of servings of coffee. هنا servings يعني
I know
الخدمة اللي يقدموها. هسه cell phone subscribers at Marysville. هنا بال 95 كانوا أقل ال 500 ويعني الومن كانوا شوية أعلى لأنه يحجون أكثر ممكن. وبعدين أكو صار كلش سبايك بحيث بال 2005 يعني صاروا تقريبا متشابهين هنا. وبعدين نزل عدد يعني المشتركين من النساء وصار مستقر تقريبا. والرجال شويه بدا يصعد لحد 2015. اوكي هذولي في الجراف هنا هو كاتب لك تدريب انه انت مثلا تكتب الجراف شنو. احنا ما راح نسوي الا اذا انت حاب تطبعه وتسجله على ورق يعني الك كل جراف وشنو الديتيلز مالته. بس احنا بدنا نراجع بيه verbally هنا. هسه make comparisons هذا نفسه اللي قرأناه نعطيك التفصيل مالته. هذا النقطة اللي ردت أقول عليها أنه وإن أنت تسترسل بالكلام حاول تكتب لك فد 10-15 كلمة ذولي الكلش فورمال اللي راح تستخدمهم أثناء التقرير. يعني مثلا كلمة marginal أو كلمة secondary أو كلمة on one hand on the other hand. دائما حاول تخلي formal expressions موجودة حتى تساعدك يعني بالناريتيف أو بالكتابة. هنا مثلا يقول لك the number of اللي هي موجودة بالشارت بيش نقدر نستخدمها نستبدلها بيا synonym. So the graph shows the number of schools. Constructed means built, region, area, who visited ممكن, who paid a visit, the number of, the size of ممكن, men and women, masculine and feminine shoppers ممكن, gender variation, different types, different kinds, bus passengers, transportation agents or customers or whatever. يعني هذه كلها details احنا مارين عليها.
It's about paraphrasing, right?
كلها paraphrasing يعني الأغلب يعني حقيقة هي paraphrasing. هذا اللي احنا ناقشناهم بس هو شوي شوي دا يزيد لك بالشات حتى انت تسوي practice عليه هنا. بس دا أوصل الباراجراف اللي نحتاج.
So you will end up in a paragraph.
هو يعني لحد ما توصل إلى أنه أنت كاتب paragraph. بعد هنا مثلا the number of women subscribing to cell phone service rose. لاحظ ماضي. In most years between 1995 and 2015. نقطة. هذا أنت حتى لو ما شايف الشارت أنت راح توصل فكرة أوكي يعني عددهم ازداد بين ال 95 وال 1915. 1995 and 2015. Before 1995, cell phones was not very common. In 1995, 500 women subscribed to cell phone. By 2005, the number of female subscribers had increased. هذا إلها استخدام to 2015. There was a slight drop. لاحظ هذا كلش مهمة هذه slight drop. Between 2005 and 2010 to about 2,250 subscribers, and that number stayed steady. إذن stayed steady أيضا مهمة between 2010 and 2015. وده شوف ده يزيد لك هسه use the words to describe the trends: increase, decrease, rise and fall. هذا rise مو raise لأن raise معناها يربي أو يرفع.
Okay.
Rise here هنا climb and drop, growth or grow and decline and dip. Adjectives significant, sharp, considerable, slight, steady. من قلت لك هسه قبل شويه وانت دا تسترسل بالكلام فكر بالنقطه شنو الكلمات اللي ممكن تضيفها لان هاي كلش حتكون supplements قوي. والadverbs هنا steadily, slightly, significantly, sharply and considerably. هذولي أأكد لك هذول الكلمات هم اللي راح يكونون أساس تقييمك وأساس الانطباع الجيد عند المقيم. وراح تبقى أنه أنت هنا تستخدمهم هذا التمرين لحد هاي النقطة. أنا أريد أوصل للconclusion. In general, the average daily sales of each food items change depending on the season. هذا النقطة الثانية مال الشارت، واحد من الشارتس اللي ناقشناه. Discussion on separate piece of paper, revision. هسه شوف احنا يعني كم فقرة قلت لك نحكي بيها؟ 5 مو 2 4. تسمعني أحمد؟ I can't hear your voice.
Hello.
أسمعك. أوكي أسمعك هسه. هسه التشيك ليست addressing the task اللي هو الثيسيس ستيتمنت يعني المين ايدياز اللي بيه. عندك الباراجراف الاولى المين ايديا cohesion، الباراجراف الثانيه بعدين الباراجرافز الاخيره اللي بيها يتعلق الكونكلوجن الاساسي بالكومباريسونز بيناتهم. بس دول العوامل اللي هو coherence, cohesion, lexical resource and grammatical range دول العناصر الاساسيه اللي نحتاجهم. نرجع للجراف ونشوف شلون انكتب. هاي الصفحة 39. The bar graph shows. إذن شوف the present simple. How many serving of certain food items are sold on average every day in 2 different seasons at the Vesta Cafe. وهسه راح يجيني يحكي بالوينتر the average number of sales of each item changed with the season. هسه حول shift ماضي. Certain food items had passed much higher sales than others in winter. راح يقول لي كيف؟ مثلا hot coffee had the highest number of sales with an average of 75% servings sold daily. Following this, the items with the second highest number of sales was soup اللي هو هنا. هسه شوف هو ناقش الهوت كافي بعدين soup. ده الفيتشرز الأساسيات. Following this, the items with this second highest number of sales was soup, with an average of 50 servings sold daily. Salad and ice cream had average daily sales of 25. يعني average. حول للثانية. The sales number of each food item was different. In the summer, from that one, in winter اللي متفق عليه اللي هي بالوينتر تكون الايس كوفي اعلى significantly. فشوف كلمة significantly. Serving sales was ice cream. وده ينطيك الارقام. Conclusion كاتبة in general. The average daily sales of each food item changed when the season changed. Certain items were more popular. شو قد بسيطة يعني. But certain others were more popular in summer. يعني بعض من عندها كان شائع بالوينتر بعض. من ترجع للبداية the bar chart shows many servings of certain items are sold on average different seasons. فهو مجرد مسوي paraphrase beginning here بالأخير.
Yes.
Okay. أريد هسه احنا وصلنا صفحة 40. أريد على الأقل تروح تلاحظ أنه هو كليته يعني walks you a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
Go to page like 100. See what's the common issues with this graph. يعني هذا احنا بس نتعامل ويا جراف بهذه. فحتى تاخذ عندك solid انه احنا اوكي مسوين تشيك ليست البارن اللي هو خاص بالرايتنج مالت جراف ماخذين الفكره الاساسيه. فهسه انت قمت راسا اول ما تشوف الشارت بغض النظر عن شنو بديت تحلله مباشره صارت عندك فكره. فاي شارت يجيب لك اياه اوكي انا مجرد الفكره بالكونتنت مو الشارت او الجراف اللي قدامي. هذه نقطه بلس تحسب يعني. عند هذه النقطه احنا نكتفي بدرسنا هذا اليوم. اللي اريده من عندك فقط الشارت اللي دزيت لك اياه تعيد صياغته مره لخ وتنطيني كونفرميشن انه انا كملته سواء اليوم او بالليل او باكر كيفك.
اوكي
تمام. هذا الملف دزيت لك اياه اعتقد وصل.
هذا سيف يس
you got it. فاطلع عليه لحد صفحه 100. مو يعني معلومات كلها مكرره، يعني احنا مناقشينها سابقا، بس حتى نقول اوكي احنا غطينا فد 100 صفحه، فعلى الاقل هذا الشيء محسوب يعني. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay,
Very
perfect.
good.
Well, stay in touch. Let me know whenever you finish that one.
Okay.